Okay, so I am back here. The next kind of, not set of gear, but the next chunk is going to be some of my favorite move sets in the DLC. Um, there isn't much else in terms of left-hand weapons. This is the only thing that's really left. And I'll go ahead and start with this. This is the lock shield. So basically this is very good against blocking all forms of non-physical damage. I haven't really had a chance to try it yet. The thing I really want to try it on is the Logarius fight. And I have to go into my new game, which I'm actually ready to do because I have all the DLC stuff, so I'm happy. I'm satisfied. But yeah, this will get some use definitely, and I might record my Martyr Logarius run with this. Now, the glorious thing in my right hand is Simon's bow blade, and you'll see why I bought bullets in a second. So it has a curved sword moveset. With a thrust in the middle, I think. I think that's the middle. Yeah. No, that's the end to the combo. That's a 4-hit combo with the thrust to the end, which is awesome. Lots of momentum forward. Good weapon. Good moveset for R1. The 4-hit combos have always held a good place in my heart, because you get longer combos, so you get a little bit more variation on what you can do. So this is the R2. It's kind of grabby like the Beast Hunter Safe. But I don't know. I don't know that I like it. I haven't really tried it enough. But there's no follow-up. Lots of the weapons I'm noticing in there they're non-transformed, non-trick weapon, don't have a follow-up to their R2, which is fine. It's an R2 for a reason. It's meant to do this. So Simon's Bowblade is probably the most interesting in terms of charged R2s because of that. It has an odd spin, which I don't know how many times it hits, but it looks like it hits twice. Once there, once coming around after the flash, and once more ending it. So it could be used to hit twice, I'm not sure. But the most interesting part of Simon's Bowblade is the bow. So here's your arrow. I know lots of people would be interested in seeing that guy. Now, the bow itself looks amazing. For a bow in Bloodborne, I don't think anyone could have asked for more. I was especially excited because, me personally, I love bows, and I was very sad to see that the bow didn't make a return in the main game of Bloodborne. Now, when I heard about Simon and his story about just downright not hating, or just hating guns, I was like, I can identify a little bit. So this is his bow blade. Each shot, charged R2, R2, or R1, it all uses one shot. It all uses one bullet. So with this weapon, I would suggest bringing some runes to up your bullet count. So this is the R1. Just basic, very Dark Souls bullet, or Dark Souls arrow. This is the R1, not charged. So it's a bit stronger. It almost reminds me of a Monster Hunter kind of feel to it, which is an odd comparison, but it feels like the bow from Monster Hunter a little bit. And then we have the charged R2, which does, at range, get backstabs. I can confirm that. I've done it multiple times while farming for chunks on the werewolves, and on several enemies that can be backstabbed. So that still only uses one bullet. Yeah, I just wanted to check and make sure. And then the L2, because you don't have your gun out, the L2 is just that, which is, again, very reminiscent of Monster Hunter, where you can smack with your arrow. It's just that. That's all it is. It's just that one little smack. It does do, for what it is, just smacking with your arrowhead, it does do a considerable amount of damage. But this is also I think it's +8? Yeah, it's +8. So we'll go ahead and let you look at the description of the lock shield real quick. Oh, damn. Good thing it's at the bottom. I did it again. Good lord. Alright, there we go. So yeah, it's a very interesting shield because it's glass. So it's very obvious why it doesn't block it doesn't block physical stuff. And specifically, I want to point out something originally used to safeguard the leader presiding over a sacred healing church ceremony and later supplied to tomb prospectors, in particular those exploring the labyrinth of ice. I'm going to go with ice. So, people, when you are in those chalice dungeons and those stupid witches with their fire try and shoot at you, I highly implore you to try this, because I'm assuming it works. I will test this myself and debunk if I am correct or not, but I'm assuming this thing is the solution to those stupid witches that shoot fire at you and one-shot you. And believe me, I understand those things suck. It sucks losing hundreds of thousands of souls because you can't run past a fireball. Alright, so we've shown off the bow blade. Let's go into Simon's his description of his bow blade, which is very cool. I love this description. It gets a little insight onto who he was. Now, one of the more interesting weapons, although it is, I'm gonna say what most people are gonna say when they do this, it is a tad disappointing because of the boss fight. I won't ruin the boss fight for anyone, but this weapon, as it sits, is a little disappointing, which is so sad. It's so sad because it is reminiscent of the Chikage. It's a cousin too because of the well, I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but if you're watching this, you're not worried about spoilers. But there's the description. This is basically a skill-based weapon, purely skill. So that looks like a 2-hit R1 combo. Oh no, that's a 4-hit. So you have slash, stab, slash stab, or slash thrust, slash thrust. More of a poke on the second hit with that little dagger. And then you have your charged R1, which is, I really like that. I don't know how much use I'll get out of this particular weapon, but that is amazing. That moveset is absolutely fantastic. That charged R1, just straightforward, is a katana lover's dream. So if you're a skill user, you have some options for sure. So then we have the charge, or the transformation, which I will show off the transformation attack too, because it's very interesting. Basic, but can catch, I'm sure it would catch people off guard. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this. This is the moveset. It's very fast, so I'm gonna do it a couple different ways, just so everyone can catch it. Very katana, Eastern weapon kind of feel to it, for a reason. I mean, it's a cousin, quote unquote, to the Chikage. I mean, it looks, the hilt specifically looks a lot like the Rider Palash. The dagger is a bit of a, I don't know. It looks very ceremonial, but it's kind of an odd addition, but interesting nonetheless. So this is the L2, which is, again, absolutely delightful. Katana lover's dream. Skill lover's dream. Skill user's dream. Other than that, though, the combo is half decent, and this is the R2. It's a combo and not a charge, so there is no charge to this. It's just that. It's those two stabs. Straightforward, lots of momentum, like a lot of the weapons in the DLC. Lots of momentum, which is awesome. But yeah, it's disappointing when you see the boss fight itself. I'm not going to spoil anything, but this weapon could have been so much more. And people might fight me on that. That's perfectly fine. It's just my opinion on it. You might have a complete different opinion. I mean, to you, this might look like, oh my god, there's another skill weapon in the game. So, which is true. I mean, that's perfectly sane thing to think. So, we're coming up on the end of this chunk of DLC weapons. So, and then this lock shield is gonna be just sitting on us because that was the last of the guns. Yeah, I was just making sure that's the last of the guns. So this thing, this monstrosity on my back is the whirligig saw. Oh, I did show you the description of the Rakuyo. I believe that's what it's called. This is the whirligig saw. So I have barely used the one-handed moveset. I've basically been using this more, the transformed version more, but it is good to... It's almost exactly the same moveset, if not exactly the same as the silver sword on Ludwig's Holy Blade and the Kirkhammer. It just looks different. Like the weapon itself is just kind of like a club. So I think it does blunt damage. I might be wrong because there's a point at the end. But I know that it's the same moveset, because that's a thrust at the very end. That's why I love Ludwig's Holy Blade, because it's got that... The one-handed is amazing. That's a little different, I believe. It's more of just a club smack for the R1, or the R2. So yeah, it's very kind of... very samey, but still has enough to be different. And this is the R2. This is, again, just clubbing, but still, it's useful, for sure. This is the R2, or the transformation. So, this, of course, as you can probably tell, has serrated damage, which is great for beasts. So this is the R1. That's the R1 combo. And I can confirm that that last hit does do multiple smaller hits. So that particular one where it hits the ground and spins does more than one hit. I'm not sure how many. I think it's 2 or 3. Then you have your R2. That's the only thing. That's R2. That's all it is. Now, charged R2 is where things get very interesting, as is when you press R or L2. Both of these are very interesting. So, charged R2 takes a long time to charge. I think once it comes down, it hits 3 or 4 times. It's a kick-ass move, actually. But yeah, that's all it is. It's nothing. It takes a long time to charge, though, so be wary of that. The L2 is even more interesting because it's just this. It's just a little sap to stamina with a sustained saw. So like a chainsaw. Just a sustained saw, which is effective against smaller enemies, groups of small enemies, and beasts, because it's serrated damage. So it does a crap load of damage. So that's the whirligig saw. We'll let you see that description real quick. So yeah, very, run-of-the-mill, just telling you basically what it is, where it comes from. Next is the boom hammer, which I have gotten very limited use of. I'm going to be basically discovering chunks of the moveset while I'm showing it off here, but I want to show it off regardless because it's very cool, very different. So this is just a club warhammer, but its speciality comes when you transform it. So that was R1, just back and forth, very simple motions. Uses a chunk of stamina for sure, but then your R2. Just that. Yeah, it's just that. So, and this is the charged R2. Straight down, momentum forward. This is a transform. So, this needs a little bit of explaining. So basically how this works is once you transform it, your next hit has fire damage. So you cannot imbue this weapon, and you cannot... you can't buff it with anything but itself. But it is a self-buffing weapon. And you can transform in and out of the buff. So, then transform, then back to a smack. And the charged R2 changes as well. and it is a massive